Chloe Willow embarked on an arduous quest for employment, investing considerable time and effort before discovering a fitting opportunity. Her journey was made particularly challenging by her lack of formal education, limiting her prospects to only the simplest and lowest-paying positions. Initially, Chloe felt a sense of embarrassment at the thought of entering a bank, an establishment that seemed to exude opulence and affluence. However, her perspective shifted when she noticed a "Help Wanted" sign on the bank's front door, advertising vacancies for cleaning staff. Encouraged by this opportunity, she decided to try her luck. The head of the HR department initially harbored reservations upon learning that Chloe was a young single mother raising her child without a partner. Nevertheless, he recognized the pressing need for employment in Chloe's life, and after a moment of contemplation, approved her application. As Chloe made her way home, she couldn't help but think, well, now I can finally treat my little Ruby to her favorite juice and some pastries. She had secured a job but realized that a significant portion of her earnings went towards renting a modest house on the outskirts of Detroit. Fortunately, her landlady, Mrs. Madeline, who lived next door, graciously offered to babysit Ruby while Chloe diligently pursued various job opportunities. Mrs. Madeline, a kind and benevolent elderly woman, extended her support to the young mother, who had no family and had grown up in an orphanage. Chloe had little recollection of her early childhood, as she was placed in the orphanage shortly after birth. It was rumored that her mother had passed away after childbirth, leaving no one to care for the baby. Chloe never knew her biological father, leaving her to ponder his identity. With tears welling in her eyes, Chloe mused, "So I suppose I'm following in my mother's footsteps, burdened with the responsibility of a child in my care." She couldn't fathom why her boyfriend, James Matthew, had abandoned her just before their daughter's birth. Perhaps he was simply a person averse to responsibility, seeking to shield himself from such a weighty commitment. However, now that Chloe had secured employment, a glimmer of hope had rekindled in her life. The woman possessed an unwavering work ethic and was more than willing to exert herself to achieve success. Chloe was surprised to find that her first day on the job proved rather unpleasant, primarily due to the bank employees treating the new cleaning lady with a hint of condescension. They believed she was squandering her youth in a meager paying position. Yet, a year spent in the orphanage had instilled resilience in Chloe Willow, preventing her from allowing despondent thoughts to hinder her exceptional work. Initially, most of the bank's employees did not even know her name, and chose to overlook her amidst the perpetual commotion of a financial institution. However, as the bank gradually transformed into a shining beacon of cleanliness, the staff began to appreciate Chloe Willow's determination and diligence. Her tenacity and hard work did not go unnoticed, especially by Eric Stephen, who had served as the bank's director for several years. He commended her, saying, "You are a true wizard, Chloe. Thanks to you, my geranium has bloomed for the first time in the last 3 years." Simultaneously, Director Stephen found Chloe's face oddly familiar, but despite his best efforts, he couldn't pinpoint the source of his recognition. Setting aside his perplexing thoughts, he closed his office and hastened home, where his young wife, Kira, eagerly awaited his return. Eric and Kira had met 3 years ago, despite their substantial age difference of nearly 31 years, and decided to marry within a month. Enamored by his young wife's beauty, Eric Stephen believed he had found the happiness he had yearned for during his many years of bachelorhood. Naturally, many of his acquaintances voiced concerns that Kira had married him solely for his wealth, but love had blinded him. Eric chose to dismiss these claims as the idle speculations of envious individuals less fortunate in life than he. During dinner, Eric often regaled his wife with stories of his day at the office and recent developments at the bank, including the presence of the new young cleaning lady. She worked wonders in the office, and Eric made sure to highlight how Chloe had transformed his own office, now adorned with various plants. However, when Eric shared information about the cleaning lady with his wife, he failed to notice her growing anger, marked by narrowed eyes and pursed lips. Kira, on her part, was quick to react to the news. She couldn't help but wonder about the new woman at the office, whom she suspected of having ulterior motives, possibly aiming to win over her husband. She harbored doubts about Eric's gullibility, fearing he might not even realize if someone were trying to take him away. She decided that she needed to visit the office to see this cleaning lady for herself. The truth of the matter was that, at the age of 27, Kira had already figured out her priorities in life. She had no intention of relinquishing her social status and financial freedom, which came with her mature banker husband. Deep down, Kira had no genuine feelings for Eric. She had even embarked on an affair shortly after their wedding. Her lover filled the void when her husband embarked on long business trips. It was because of this hidden life that Kira felt threatened by the new cleaning lady, believing that Chloe posed a risk to her position in Eric's life. Meanwhile, Chloe Willow continued to excel in her role. unaware that she had already earned the enmity of the director's young wife. In her conversations with Eric Stephen, Chloe found herself at ease around this intelligent and compassionate man. "I can't shake the feeling that I've seen you somewhere before, Chloe," the banker mused with a smile. "That's highly unlikely, Mr. Stephen. I grew up in an orphanage, and the caretaker told me my mother died during childbirth," Chloe replied with a heavy sigh. Of course, Chloe understood that she and the wealthy banker had nothing in common, living in entirely different worlds. The first month passed swiftly, and Chloe finally received her first paycheck. While it wasn't much, the young mother had grown accustomed to making do with very little. Nevertheless, she arranged a small celebration for her daughter, Ruby, purchasing fruit juice and various treats that children her age adored. As she looked at Ruby's delighted face, Chloe discreetly wiped away tears, which for the first time in months, were tears of joy rather than despair. Regrettably, the woman had no inkling that her life would take another unexpected turn the very next morning, presenting her with a fresh set of formidable challenges. It all commenced with the shocking revelation that important documents were missing from Eric Stephen's safe. What made matters even more perplexing was the fact that there were no signs of a break-in, implying that it might be an inside job. Despite his trust in his employees, Eric Stephen hesitated to jump to conclusions, considering the staff had been working harmoniously side by side for over a year. The notion that one of them could be the culprit seemed unfathomable. To his astonishment, it was his wife, Kira, who steered him toward investigating the cleaning lady. "You should take a closer look at this cleaning lady, dear. You can't ignore the fact that the documents vanished shortly after she started working here. Moreover, she spends a significant amount of time in your office," Kira suggested, masking a sly grin. While Eric Stephen couldn't readily accept the idea that Chloe might be a document thief, he felt it prudent to explore the lead. The following day, Chloe Willow found herself being questioned by the bank's security team. Tearfully, she repeated, "I don't know anything about any documents. I simply watered the plants in Mr. Stephen's office, and I have no knowledge of the documents kept in the safe." Nonetheless, following the director's wife's insinuations, the security team continued to accuse the cleaner of theft, albeit lacking concrete evidence. Their conclusion rested solely on speculation. As Chloe did not confess to any wrongdoing, she was temporarily suspended from work pending a resolution. Simultaneously, Chloe naively sought support from Mr. Stephen, who deep down did not truly believe in her guilt. The notion that such a sweet and kind woman could be a conniving thief did not sit well with the director. "I need to get to the bottom of this. If she's guilty, we'll take appropriate action. If not, I'll personally apologize to her," Eric Stephen contemplated thoughtfully as he perused the phone numbers in his notebook. Recognizing the limitations of his trust in the bank's security team, the sagacious banker decided to enlist an independent investigator to delve into the situation. Eric Stephen had no qualms about paying a substantial fee for the services of a private investigator, as he was confident that the investigator would successfully resolve the situation and uncover the true culprit. The investigation spanned approximately a week, leaving one to wonder about the ordeal the hapless cleaning lady endured during this period. Accused of theft and espionage for competitors, Chloe could only ponder, "God, what did I do to deserve all this? I didn't do anything wrong, I was just doing my job," whispered Chloe tearfully. Throughout the investigation, Chloe was asked to go on leave, which felt more like house arrest. Ultimately, the private investigator presented the banker with a comprehensive report. The substantial folder contained dossiers and brief biographies of all the bank employees at the time of the theft. As Eric Stephen skimmed through the names, he halted at the file of the new cleaning lady. What the banker gleaned from the single mother's file unsettled him. "Is this true?" he inquired, turning pale. "Yes, sir, everything in this file is accurate. It's my job and I'm skilled at it," the detective affirmed with a smile. Swiftly, Eric Stevens summoned his personal driver, instructing him to transport the director to Chloe Willow's residence. En route, the banker couldn't refrain from quietly repeating, "No, that can't be true." Upon reaching Chloe's doorstep, Eric Stephen noticed her pallor and lowered gaze. However, rather than accusations, he articulated something even more astonishing and incredible. "Well, hello, daughter. Tell me, was your mother's name Melissa Callie?" Mr. Stephen inquired, his eyes glistening with tears. In that moment, Chloe was prepared for any revelation except this one. "Excuse me, sir. Yes, that's my mother's name, but she passed away a long time ago, and I grew up in an orphanage," she responded softly. Nevertheless, Eric Stephen was already clutching the document discovered by the private detective in the orphanage's archives. The file confirmed that Chloe's mother was indeed Melissa Callie, who, according to her medical records, had tragically passed away due to postpartum complications. Few were aware that Mr. Stephen's first and only love had been Melissa Callie. Unfortunately, at the insistence of Eric's affluent parents, the young couple had been compelled to part ways, shattering their dreams of a joyful future together. What Melissa Callie didn't know at the time was that she was already pregnant, leaving the young woman from a modest background to reconcile herself with the fact that her daughter would grow up without a father. Following Melissa's death, the caregivers at the orphanage bestowed the girl with their first and last name, which served as a permanent link between the child and her departed mother. "Oh God, is that really true? Please just tell me, are you really my father?" Chloe implored through tears. In response, Eric Stephen only nodded, tears glistening in his eyes as he pulled his daughter into a warm embrace. As it turned out, it was Eric's wife who had pilfered the documents from his safe and attempted to frame the cleaning lady. Kira was so desperate to eliminate her rival that she was willing to resort to any means. To her chagrin, she failed to consider that her husband might hire a private detective, who swiftly uncovered her affair and the ulterior motives of her lover, who was merely interested in her wealth. On learning of the affair, Eric promptly initiated divorce proceedings. Thanks to the prenuptial agreement they had signed before marriage, Kira received nothing in the divorce settlement. Now that Eric had a daughter and a little granddaughter, his life took on a completely new meaning, filled with laughter and happiness.